So this strip yield model uses principle of superposition, and if the applied stress is much smaller than the yield strength, then rho, the size of the plastic zone, is pi squared sigma squared A upon 8 sigma ys square, which can be simplified to pi upon 8 k1 by sigma ys whole square. Again, right, I am reminding you, and I don't know if you insist that we do the mathematical derivation, then we go into the depth of it. But if you say, oh, thanks a lot, sir, this is great. So, right, so I'm just trying to explain the physics and the mechanics, but the mathematical derivation, I feel, is way beyond our stage of final year students and so on, right? So we are giving you the equations directly. Note the similarity between this equation and the earlier equation, right? The RP from Irwin's second order correction was 1 upon pi k1 by sigma y whole square, and this rho from strip yield is pi upon 8 k1 by sigma y whole square. 1 upon pi is 0.318 and pi by 8 is 0.392, right? So even in the first decimal place it is almost the same. So very close estimation. So Irwin and strip yield approaches predict similar plastic zone sizes, but this is the second correction, not RY. This is RP, right, and so on. Now Boydekin and Stone obtained a more realistic estimate of K effective for the strip yield model by more advanced mathematics, which we are not giving here. So rather than, right, so they using this, remember, if you use this and you use the approach A effective is equal to A plus rho and so on, right, then you can find K effective by iterative method. So if we apply all of that, then K effective can now be directly there, which is what we want. So sigma ys root pi A and this whole thing 8 upon pi squared ln secant pi sigma by 2 ys whole under root, right? So remember, right, pi cos tan and so on, so secant is also there. It is not an issue, this you can directly do. So if we want to do K effective based on strip yield model, then we can use this equation directly. Now the comparison of the plastic zone corrections, right? Two plastic zone corrections are there, Irwin and strip yield. What is the comparison? We will go to the figure later on, but comparison between a pure LEFM analysis, then Irwin correction for plane stress and the strip yield correction on stress intensity. In my earlier lectures, I did not have these equation numbers. Now I have added them so that you can directly compare with the Anderson textbook. You can trace that this is the figure. Equation 241 in Anderson is the pure LEFM. Equation 270 is the Irwin correction, and equation 281 is the strip yield correction. The effective stress intensity non-dimensionalized by sigma ys root pi A is plotted against normalized stress. Let us try to understand. We want to find the stress intensity, of course the effective one after doing the plasticity correction. Now stress intensity will have the megapascal root meter type of units. Whenever units are there, then as soon as you change to another system, say from meter system to inch system, then the values will change. But if you non-dimensionalize, if you divide by a factor which has the same megapascal root meter units, right, then it is just a number. It is just a number, isn't it? Just like a strain is inch per inch or meter per meter, it is the same value because it is just a number. So we take effective stress intensity divided by sigma root pi A, so megapascal root meter. So now the number is a non-dimensionalized number, therefore we can use this number for any system of units, right? So this is what they are saying. Now LEFM, we will see in that figure, LEFM analysis predicts a linear relationship between K and stress. That is why the whole thing is LEFM, linear elastic fracture mechanics, that between K, stress intensity, and stress there is a linear relationship. Both Irwin and strip yield corrections deviate from LEFM theory at stresses greater than half yield strength. So this is a major observation, that for stresses lower, stresses 1/4 of the yield strength and so on, the new correction and the linear theory gives you the same value, does not matter. But if the applied stress becomes more than the yield, half of yield strength, then they start to deviate, then these corrections start to matter, right? The two plasticity corrections agree with each other up to approximately 0.85 yield strength. So just after half of yield strength, we need some correction. Before that, we don't need Irwin or strip yield, the LEFM is good enough. After half yield strength until 85% of yield strength, Irwin and strip yield are almost the same, and after that they deviate, right? So this is a big observation, because as engineers, as science people, we want to know that when do we want, I mean, you see, if totally linear theory gives you perfectly correct results, then why should you go to a non-linear model and make life difficult? So for 0.25, 0.3, 0.4, 0.45 yield strength, if that is your applied stress, then simply use LEFM and your results are very good. Okay. Now in the 1970s, strip yield model was used to derive a practical methodology for assessing fracture in structural components. You see, structural components are not generally brittle materials. They have a lot of metals and alloys. So strip yield model in 1970s was used to derive a practical methodology. We suggested 2-3 slides ago that these Irwin and these corrections should not be directly used, but strip yield, yes, now they are saying they can be actually used. This approach was called the failure assessment diagram, FAD, failure assessment diagram. We are not discussing it here. It is described in chapter 9. So anybody who ends up in a company where fracture mechanics is important, or anybody who is taking a master's or PhD course in fracture mechanics, they can go to chapter 9 and study what is the failure assessment diagram. We just know here at this level that it is based on the strip yield method, and we modify it to some extent so that we can practically apply it. Remember, chapter 9 was practical application of the theories that we have learned until now. So here, this is a chart type of graph which is brilliant again, which is very, very good. So basically here it is K effective, and here it is the stress, remote stress. K effective has been divided by yield strength into root pi a, so that now it is unitless, and sigma has also been divided by sigma ys, so this is also unitless. But this directly tells you also that how much sigma are you applied. When you are at 0.5, then sigma is equal to 0.5 yield strength and so on, right? So that is what they told you, that there is no major difference until roughly here. Until roughly here there is no major difference, right? So until 0.4 yield strength, until the applied stress is roughly 40%, the straight line approach, the LEFM approach is very, very good. After that, the non-linear one starts to deviate a little. After that, until 0.85, you see the Irwin correction and the strip yield correction, right? This is the straight line, this is the LEFM, this is straight line. This one, hollow dots is Irwin, and this solid dots is a strip yield. So until 85% or 80%, it does not matter whether we use Irwin correction or the other one. But if the applied stress is more than 85% of the yield strength, we are very close to plasticity, right? Very close to yield strength. Then yes, we should use the strip yield correction. And this is the thing, that this is a sharp crack of length 2a in an infinite plane plate where the remote stress is sigma. So all the corrections that we did are simplified in one graph here, and we understand that as long as we are until about 40%, 50% of the yield strength, we do not apply to use any plasticity corrections. The LEFM theory, the linear theory, gives us very good results. After we reach applied stress of roughly half yield strength or more, then the plasticity corrections are important. But again, whether we feel that Irwin is easier or strip yield is easier, it does not matter which one we use unless we go to almost 85% of the yield strength as our applied stress, right? So this is a summary of these plasticity corrections. Here is crack tip plastic zone shape estimated from elastic solutions and von Mises yield criterion for mode 1 loading, right? So Ry, and we are dividing by this just to get a number, right? K1 by sigma y in the equation, and it is mode 1. This is your crack, this is your crack. If you have a plane strain condition, then this is the plastic zone. This is the plastic zone above and below the crack. If it is the plane stress condition, the plastic zone is larger. The plastic zone is larger. So this is the shape, right? This is the shape and so on. Again, right? If you use the equation, it is a nonlinear equation. So in one case, in the simple case of Irwin, it will be circular. In the other case, it will be sort of elliptical and so on. And we will see that this is the kidney shape, right? The kidney shape above and below the crack tip, above and below the crack tip. But again, we are introducing this here, but at least we have the feeling, hopefully, that we have done only linear elastic fracture mechanics, which is very validly applicable to very strong and hard brittle materials. But if we apply it to metals and alloys, then we need some correction. The real correction, how we should do it, we should go to chapter 9 and see how the strip yield model has been changed into a method failure assessment diagram, right? But right now, even these type of corrections which we are showing here are good enough for us. So with that, we have done a major achievement. When we finished chapter 1, we had already done a huge achievement, that we had summarized a lot of your earlier courses on solid mechanics and material science and manufacturing and machine design, where some concepts of fracture mechanics were there, but you did not know at that time that they were these concepts. Then in chapter 2, we started formally, rigorously, the actual theory and how did it start with Inglis and Griffith and so on. The fracture mechanics theory applied as a linear elastic fracture mechanics theory when the material is very brittle like glass and so on, when the crack is very sharp and so on. And we developed quite a bit, and for brittle materials the theory is still very good. But the good thing about the theory is that with simple corrections like Irwin and strip yield model, we can use the same linear elastic theory for some metals also. And even if there are metals and so forth which have some plasticity, which have some yield strength, remember brittle materials don't have a yield strength. So materials which have a yield strength, even then, if the applied stress is less than half yield strength, we have concluded scientifically that the linear elastic theory will be good enough even for metals. And then you use the failure assessment diagram and then apply the linear elastic theory with a little modification to assess metals and alloys which have some plasticity at the sharp corners. So with that, chapter 2 is completely finished, and of course now we will start the next chapter, and until we meet for that, thank you for being with me, and please try to these are higher level concepts, so you need to understand it pretty well, and please see whatever problems are there in chapter 13 of Anderson, and from the Callister book and other places if you can find anything else. And for those of you who are adventurous and who want to learn more fracture mechanics, you can always go to the internet or any other suggested books and try to do a little more. Thanks a lot. Ma salama.